Hello, and welcome to the newest episode of the Drive Home Podcast. I'm your host, and I don't think I've ever said my name yet, which, semi on purpose, and anonymity on the internet is definitely a bonus in the long run. But that's besides the point. Let's drive this podcast home. So, I think, today will be another Xenoblade X, and then I think after that, I think next time I'll do a Zombies one again, so I remember still. But I'm going to do another Xenoblade, because I like Xenoblade Chronicles X. So, I've played more since the last time, of course, and I beat Chapter 5. Needless to say, I still love Xenoblade Chronicles X. I really like the story. Apparently, that's a very hot take, I guess. And I'm just assuming it's probably because I haven't heard of a reason for it. So I just assumed that it might have something to do with the fact that the player character is an OC, I guess? Like an original character? Like you kind of just... I mean, obviously they just kind of... You know, it's a character creation. You make the character and then they don't really have voice lines, but they have dialogue options and whatever. So instead of there being like I guess there's like a canonical name. You know? But, you pick your own name and... Yeah. But, So, last time, so I guess before I get much farther into it, I worked for 6 hours today. It was okay. Nothing really popped out. But man, is it spring, I guess, for real. So yeah, I guess that was everything else. But anyway, so I believe last time we spoke, I had beaten Chapter 4, and I was thinking about that stuff. And talking about... Oh, wait, no, actually, I had started Chapter 5. Because I remember, I think, unless if this was just something in my head, but I believe I did talk about how it's strange that everyone speaks the same language, or everyone thinks they speak the same language, even though they don't. So, I guess it would evolve into something further if decided to do sequel games, but I guess I'll be going over the story contents of Chapter 5, as well as anything else I found interesting. But, so in Chapter 5, you meet the Manon. The Manon are a race not native to Mira, but, they often come and trade with the Nopon, I guess. They are self-proclaimed the smartest people, or not people, but smartest life forms in the galaxy. or universe or something. They have maybe not smartest, but they have the most technology. Or, well, they have they have the best technology. You know, German science is the best in the whole world, or whatever the Stroheim says from JoJo. Or, yeah, German engineering is the greatest in the whole world. Or, I think that's how he says it, right? I don't know. I'm not trying to do an accent, but anyway, so we met up with them. Their ship is massive and hidden in the giant death pit that exists in Oblivia. I don't remember if they have others, but there aren't too many death pits because it's usually just like water. But Oblivia has a massive death pit where, you know, you fall into it, there's no bottom. The one good thing about Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is that when you open the map, the game pauses, or time pauses, which means if you open the map, if you can teleport, you can teleport away from just falling to your doom, which is nice. But obviously, if you're in battle, you can't teleport. And then, anyway, their ship is supposedly hidden deep down in the abyss, because there are anti-air turrets set up by the Ganglion and Prone. I can't remember which ones are which, but well, like the Ganglion are the main force as far as I know. The Prone work under them. We'll get into that later. But your goal is to run around and destroy the anti-air turrets surrounding the 3 anti-air turrets set up by the Ganglion, surrounding the giant death pit. And so you do that, and 1, 2, 3, you go back to where the Menon are. They are no longer there. They are... Oh, and Menon, they kind of sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks. Like, high-pitched, kind of... Like a voice voice filter, but helium. It's funny. They're also relatively small and have dog ears, but droopy dog ears. Not droopy like the cartoon dog, not that kind of droopy, but their ears droop downwards. I don't know. And they have kind of big noses or something, it seems like. Or maybe that's their mouth, and they have no nose? I don't know. Xenoforms are really interesting. But I did. So I went back to them. They were not there, and then some chain explosion went off. And yes, spoilers for Chapter 5. This is a basic summary of the quest. But I went to that location, which is a Ganglion fortress, and I defeated me and my team defeated the mechs or whatever that were there. Let's see. And right at the end. So the Menon were being held captive there. so, well, I guess because they had been recaptured or something. And they were being like, hey, you need to join us and give us your technology because we want it. And they were like, that's not how you ask for help. We're not going to help you. We're not asking. We're telling you. You better help us or else. Sorry, a police vehicle went by and I completely blanked. Anyway, so we defeat them, and right at the end, so at the beginning, we shut one down, but the Ganglion basically say so the Prone are the first sentient race to sort of encounter. They don't like us and want us dead. Now the reason for that apparently is because of the Ganglion. They forced them to using force. Now I feel like that becomes relevant later, but I'm not gonna say anything else because I have a vague memory of events. But let's see. So we and at the end, so the one that we shut down earlier, they were in some Skell types. Mech armor? I don't know what you want to call it. They were in some mechs, right? And so the first one we sort of shut down instantly, didn't exactly die. So they got back up as Tatsu was celebrating slightly too early, and we notice this, and we run and we take the shot for Tatsu, which I feel like if people got to choose, if the people controlling the player character got to choose, they would probably choose to not do that and let Tatsu become a roasted potato. But in that, our arm comes off, and it's bad. And that's when we realize we're not really human. Well, not necessarily. Because of our memory not existing, story-wise, we don't remember anything. So, we're just kind of a blank slate. But there are certain important things that we didn't remember, and that's kind of important. So, anyway, lots happening. Our non-arm is in pain, and it feels like they're calling an ambulance or something, or prepping a hospital or something. Anyway, they shut us down temporarily and bring us back. To NLA, I should say. The good thing about NLA is that they have free healthcare. That's the funny part. The only bad thing is that it doesn't last forever if we don't get the life hold. But anyway, so we wake up with new arm, completely fine. We're all good, and so then we get the explanation. So the explanation is that so this is something important that we should have remembered. So humans are using these things we are in called mimeosomes. So our minds from the Lifehold are piloting these robots that are designed to make you forget that you're even in one, right? Like they let you eat, you can taste, you can feel. It feels all real and stuff. The only issue is it's not real. And the percentage bar on the big old tower, big old blade tower, once that hits 0%, that means the Lifehold core's power runs out. And it turns off, which means we all die. All the Mimiosomes, all the people in New LA will just drop dead because our bodies are no longer being supported by the Lifehold. Which, you know, scary. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Yes. But we're a robot, that's cool. But we don't have too many replacement parts for the Mimiosomes because they are sort of made in the Lifehold or something. The Lifehold has the required processes to make them. I don't remember. And it has all the actual passengers, because keep in mind, we're the skeleton crew, I guess. All the actual, you know, normies, normal people are still in the Lifehold. So, you know, that's bad. Well, I mean, it's good because we don't need too many normal people, but at the same time, you know, if the Lifehold core runs out of power, it's toast. And so are all of them and all of us and all of everything. It's the total extinction of the human race. And I believe some time must have passed. I swear it was around 80% at the beginning of the game. And I swear it was around 60% for a while. But when it's showing you Blade Tower, it is at 41% percent remaining. And I don't know how much time passes in between each story mission. It varies, of course, but something that you should know is that I believe they had been on Mira for 3 to 6 months before our discovery. Somewhere in between there. I can't remember if it was 3 months or 6 months, but it was one of them. But, and so, with this new information learned, you're now on a time clock. Not really, but like, the story implies, and, you know, it becomes like an overarching factor for later in the series. Well, it's not series, but for the game. For later on in the game. It's an overarching like issue, like, oh no, the timer, it's also, and it's very hush-hush, because we don't really want people to, you know that that's what's happening, because apparently there was a battery that was supposed to come with the Lifehold, but it kind of ran out, or it got destroyed when the ship blew up. So this is very hush-hush, only the team leaders know, apparently, and Elma is our team leader, and she told us, because it seems important, I guess. I mean, yeah. Anyway, so I guess the other person I took with me, because you're supposed to normally only take Elma and Lynn, but I took Lau with me, which he's pretty good to have, I think. It's a pretty cool character. I think he found a specific in a just one off, but in a specific I can't remember what it was specifically, but he found a joke funny that no one else really found funny, and I thought that was hilarious because it was a Tatsu food joke, and I personally I like Tatsu. I like the Tatsu food jokes. They're really funny. And with the discovery that you are a Mimiasome, you get the interesting feature of the game, Overdrive. When activated, it reduces all your cooldowns and gives you an additional cooldown. I guess it's called the tertiary cooldown. So there's your actual cooldown for your skill or for your arts, which is represented by a orange bar. Then there's your secondary cooldown, which is represented by a green bar, which will only fill up if your weapon is equipped. If it will only go up after you've maxed out your first cooldown bar, and the weapon that the skill is tied to is equipped. So keep in mind, you can only use arts with the equipped weapons that they go with. So I can use any knife skills I want as long as I'm using a knife, even if it doesn't necessarily have to do with a knife or it could be used with other weapons. That's just the rules. And, of course, the other one being ranged. Assault rifle is what I'm going to use as an example. But, it goes for the same thing with assault rifles. If you, you can only use assault rifles skills if you have an assault rifle equipped. Which is why when you have both, you get two weapons to equip at once, one melee, one ranged, that's what you do. But, So, but Overdrive changes this by reducing your total cooldowns, and I believe it bypasses the restriction for charging your secondary cooldown bar. And on top of all that, so having these extra bars is advantageous. Once the bars are maxed out, they give specific effects. And on top of that, just as a general rule, having your weapon equipped will make the corresponding. So, like, if I have a knife equipped, my knife arts cool down faster. If I have a ranged weapon equipped, my ranged weapon arts will cool down faster. Because that's just how it works. And so having a secondary cooldown, so normally it will either increase the damage. Secondary and tertiary cooldowns do about the same thing, but tertiary cooldowns do more of it usually, or have a bigger bonus or something. So usually using them will have one of two effects. Either some effect of the art that you're using will be boosted, or you will be able to recast the art at one cooldown lower. So say you have a tertiary art because you have Overdrive active and you have it maxed out and you use it, and it's one of the specified arts that does this. Upper hand. Let's say is it called upper hand? Let's use repair. Repair is a good one that I actually know. Wait, no, is it? Man, I forget so much. It's usually the green skills that let you recast. Sometimes the purple ones do, but I think those are the only two that can. Anyway, so if you use it with tertiary skill, so if you use one while you have maxed out tertiary cooldown, which would be represented by a white bar, so normal cooldown, I believe it's orange or red or some sort of similar color, maybe yellow, but I don't remember. Anyway, secondary cooldown is green, and you only get secondary cooldown. And keep in mind, if you use it before it's maxed out and it's cooldown, it will just reset it to 0. So, you won't get any of the bonuses. Like, even if it's 99% of the way there, but it's not 100, you're not getting that bonus. Anyway. Tertiary cooldowns are represented with white. So, because if it's overdrive, oh hey, there's blue jays in my backyard. Oh, there they go. Anyway, I've been trying to use overdrive, but I get really unlucky with the timing because either the battle ends right after I start it, or I end up dying. Honestly, I mean, there was like once versus a Sinicula, I believe, where I didn't, but I ended up dying that time after my overdrive expired. Anyway, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Drive Home Podcast. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, you don't have to. But anyway, as always, have a great next 24 hours, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks. Bye.